This is David W. Williams, also known as Diamond Dave, the founder of the highest paid part-time job in the world options trading program. And what we're going to talk about is that I'm going to show you the F's on my report card and kind of get you to understand how I lost probably about $10,000 worth of profit on 2 Tesla options plays. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because I really want you to understand is that the leverage or the edge that you're going to bring into the marketplace is going to always be your psychology. So your psychology is either going to be a weapon that you can leverage in the market to your benefit, or it's going to be a weapon in the market that's going to be leveraged against you. And your real edge in the market is going to be your psychology. It's not going to be on the type of option play you're making. It's not going to be whether or not you're doing a call or a put or a spread. It's going to always be your psychology. That's the only real edge that you're going to be able to bring into the market on a consistent basis. And what I want you to do is, once I kind of explain this to you, I want you to be able to try to find some parallels in what I've experienced, some of the mistakes that I've made, and maybe your own life. Because many of us are dealing with psychological issues, psychological limitations, and we think that this started once we got into the market. In reality, the seeds of these limitations and the seeds of these issues were planted decades ago, and these seeds have grown and they're fully fledged and they're fully formed. And now we stay in these patterns or these cycles of psychological behavior that doesn't really benefit us. But a lot of times, because we can't identify the behavior patterns, we don't even know that we're executing a script. So everywhere we go, we just execute on that script because we've essentially conditioned ourselves to act a certain way in certain situations. So let me go ahead and get into it. So there was one Tesla play that was a put play, right? And this was after they came out of their split. So I believe that they were going to sell off a little bit because I felt like they was at their ceiling and they were kind of topping out. So I went and got a put play on Tesla, and it wasn't really like at the money. Right. It was a little bit out of the money, but I kind of was very confident that they would fall far enough to put that contract, literally $30 to $40 in the money. And I bought it towards the end of the week, was looking to exit towards the top of the week that next week. And, what I normally do with all my contracts and what I do with and teach all my students is that you get the contract, you get the expiration date, the percentage that you want to exit on, and the percentage that you want to exit out if you're losing. So, your exit with profit, your exit with loss. You already have this established before you go into it. So what happened is, next week rolls around, I wake up in the morning and I'm looking at the actual brokerage account and I'm up a lot. Like I'm up a lot on this particular contract. And for whatever reason, I didn't exit. I looked at it and said, okay, that's good. And then I offered to get breakfast for everybody in my house. So I'm going to this restaurant, and there's a restaurant down here in the South called Cracker Barrel. I don't know if anybody knows. And I really don't eat. What's so weird is I really don't eat out a lot. So it was very abnormal for me to offer to go get food because I really don't like to eat out. But I offered to go get food. So I'm at Cracker Barrel getting food for all these people. And it's, so that takes time to fill those orders. So while I'm at Cracker Barrel at the restaurant, the play turns around. So it comes out of this decline and starts to go up. I don't know because I'm in the restaurant. I'm focused on what I'm focused on, making sure this order comes back right. So I get home and I look at my brokerage account, and as opposed to being up real big, now I'm down, and I'm down a lot because it's reversed, right? And it's a weekly contract, which means that it expires at the end of the week. So the market makers perceive, based on volatility, based on the movement of this thing going back up, their perception of it being able to recover in this short amount of time is very, very low. So now I'm getting hammered on the premiums on this contract. So then I had to make a decision. Do I exit now, or do I now hope and pray that it reverses back down again? So I just exited in. At that moment, I decided to show discipline. Now, the question we want to ask myself is that, how come when I woke up and I was up by so much on the contract, I was positive, I was profitable, I chose to neglect that situation. I chose to turn my back on guaranteed money. And I chose to involve myself in something else and put myself in a position where I could lose money. Why did I do that? And nobody forced me to do it. I chose to do it. Second scenario, they announced a split for Tesla, right? So I bought a call contract on Tesla. They did the split. It sold off a little bit, and then it started walking its way back up for its run up to the split. So I got a call contract, and I said, you know what? I really believe Tesla's going to hit this particular strike by this date. Did the same thing, got my entry, got my exit down, where I want to take profit at, where am I willing to lose at if I lose money on this particular contract, purchase the contract. The movement went exactly as I expected. We had a big buy-in on Tesla as we started getting closer and closer to the S&P induction. So what I wanted to say was that it was an S&P induction, if I might have called it something earlier in this example. So bought a call contract on Tesla's S&P induction to go up, right, for the share price to increase in value. Was going to exit at the top of the week. Open up the brokerage account, top of the week, and I'm up by a lot because Tesla opened up that morning with a lot of velocity and a lot of volume. And for some reason, I didn't exit. I just looked at the contract and was like, oh, okay, that's good. And I went and started doing something else, some other work that I had to do. And then what happened is, as the week got on, because it was also a weekly, expired that Friday, Tesla started to trade horizontal. And that contract started to lose a lot of value. And I had to exit at a loss because it was up that Monday, because it was based on the way it was moving, it was likely it was going to move way past that strike. Once we got into the Tuesday, then we got into the Wednesday with it trading horizontal, the likelihood of it moving past that strike was very, very low. So the implied volatility started to really kill the premium on that contract. So if I would have exited first thing in the Monday, I would have been up by a lot because of the way it was moving Monday morning. So you want to ask yourself this question. How come in both those scenarios, I'm in profit, I'm up, I'm positive on the contract, and I chose not to exit? And I really didn't choose not to exit because I wanted to make more money. But for some reason, when I know that I had a guaranteed profit, my behavior became very cavalier. I became very lackadaisical about the situation. It was almost if like, I'm up, it's whatever. It really didn't interest me anymore. So we got to ask myself, what psychological challenge am I dealing with to where once I'm able to accomplish the goal doesn't mean anything to me anymore? You understand what I'm trying to tell you? And this is one of the issues I faced in the options market, is that the challenge is what really inspires me. Once I'm successful at the contract, the money really doesn't mean anything to me because I wanted the challenge, not the money. So once I'm successful with the contract, the actual profit taking is not interesting to me at all because it doesn't mean anything to me. It was trying to figure out how to become successful, and the journey to becoming successful was what was most interesting to me, right? And so I had to really understand that even before these two scenarios, I would have contracts that would be positive and I wouldn't exit and hope that the contract would turn negative on me. And then I would get interested back into what I was doing. Right. But as long as everything was going the way I wanted it to go, I lost interest in it. That's a psychological issue that I brought into the market. That had nothing to do with the market. Because once it became very easy to me, the situation became smooth and it became effortless. I was no longer interested in it anymore. So then I looked to undermine the situation, to get my interest right back. Because I'm here to tell you, there was a time in the market to where I was so successful for so long, it was like I was getting ready to quit the options market because it was getting boring to me, because it was too easy for me to call the plays, because it was becoming so easy for me to understand where I needed to go and what I needed to do. And it wasn't a time in which the market was green. The market was not volatile, but it wasn't 100% green all the time, but it became very easy to me. And I had somebody tell me, well, look here, you maybe want to start doing something else in this particular area because you're successful, but you're going to undermine your success because in your mind it's too easy for you. So I want you to understand is that what can happen in this options market is that the money can come so fast and come so easy that it literally starts to become boring to you. And you don't have a new way of creating a challenge for yourself. And you kind of feel weird because, well, I'm making $4,000 here. I'm making $3,000 here. And I'm giving a disclaimer. I'm not to say that you're going to make that. I'm just using these as examples. I'm making $300 here. I'm making $500 here. And historically, it may have taken you a whole week. It may have taken you a whole day. It may have taken you a half a day to make this money. And you're making this money in a relatively short amount of time. And it can get to the point to where you get desensitized to it because you feel like, well, you know what? I'll just go make me another play and go make me some more money. So what is really challenging to me was the research, analyzing the scenario, trying to understand like what is going on in the market. How do I need to position myself? That was the challenging part. Actually picking the contract, right? And then having the contract become positive and seeing the profit. That really wasn't challenging to me at all, because to me, it's just money, right? And to me with money, you can always go make you some more money. So I never really tripped on it like that, right? And I want you to understand is that I've lost probably on both those plays, probably around $10,000 worth of profit, because I didn't have the discipline to close the situation all the way out when it needed to be closed out. And I did not have the discipline to understand that just because I'm cruising right now or the situation has become easy, I don't need to still execute and follow through right on my process. Similar like if you watch a professional sports team, right? They get up by a lot of points. And then what do? They start cruising, right? Because they lose their discipline. They don't play as hard once they up as they played when they first came out. And then what happens? It allows that other team back into the game. This happens a lot. Even happens with professionals. And it's just a lack of discipline, because when the game was tight, they was very engaged because it was a fight. Once they no longer felt like it was a fight anymore, they really were not engaged anymore psychologically. You lose your mental discipline because you was amped up for a fight. And so you really got to understand is that this is something that affects people all throughout life. And it's not something that the market creates in you. It's something that you bring into the market. And so one of the biggest challenges that you're going to have as an options trader is that once you figure out how to make money in the market and the money starts becoming very easy for you, you may undermine your own success to create challenges for yourself. But you got to understand is that you're really hurting yourself because you're playing with real money. And you don't want to do that. If your job is to start creating wealth and to be an investor for your family, you don't want to undermine your success just to make things interesting. So you got to start recognizing these kind of patterns in your life, right? And asking yourself, how can I deal with this behavior pattern that can be detrimental to myself and can be detrimental to my family? And then I'm going to bring this into the market and engage in this same kind of behavior. Because this is something that I really have to deal with, because this has been going on for a very long time. This is not the first scenario in which I've been positive and undermined the scenario just because like it became immediately very boring to me. And you got a lot of people listening to say, well, if I was up that much, I wouldn't do it. I understand what you're saying, but that's who you are based on your experiences. My experiences are different. So, what amount of money is very impressive to me may be different than somebody else. Right. And then what amount of money might be impressive to me, to somebody else might not really be that impressive. So it's all kind of based on your perception of the situation and where you're at that particular time. So I wanted to really show you some of the F's on my report card, because one thing about this particular space is everybody shows you how much money they made and everything's always in their favor. And they never kind of show you the mistakes that they make. But these are two plays to where it took a lot of my net profit out of my account for this year. And it's something that I really, really got to work on in 2021. I want to become a lot more essentially disciplined from an engagement standpoint when I'm winning, right? I need to become that, because I got to get out of this mentality to where if the scenario is not a hard fought type situation, that it's not interesting to me. And that's something that I really need to work on in 2021, because that's keeping me from doing consistent numbers every month, right? As an options trader. So if you got value from this, share it out. If you have any comments, hit me up in the comments. And if you know somebody that can really get value from it, let them know about it. This is David W. Williams, also known as Diamond Dave, and I'll talk to you later.